On a cold morning in Mazowe, Zimbabwe, the miners were already on the ground. It was just after sunrise. Pickaxes hitting rock, metal buckets scraping dirt, men covered in dust, working by flashlight, hundreds of feet below the earth. For them, this was not just a job, this was survival. Then engines appeared. Several black SUVs rolled slowly across the dry farmland towards the mining pits. No police sirens, no government officials, just vehicles and men standing in the back holding rifles. One of the miners later said the air changed immediately because everyone in Mazowe knew something. When those vehicles came, someone important was coming. Standing behind the lead car was a 28-year-old man wearing designer clothes, sneakers worth more than a miner's yearly salary, and sunglasses despite the morning fog. His name was Bellarmine Chatunga Mugabe, and within the next hour, people would be bleeding in the dirt. But the real question was not why violence broke out. The real question was this: why was the former president's son personally at an illegal gold mine? Because what happened in Mazowe was not just a fight, it was a warning. To understand that morning, you have to understand the family. Bellarmine Chatunga Mugabe was not an ordinary young man. He was the son of Robert Mugabe, the man who ruled Zimbabwe for nearly 4 decades. In Zimbabwe, that name was not just political, it was power. Chatunga grew up surrounded by luxury most citizens never even imagined: mansions, private security, expensive schools abroad. He spent part of his teenage years in Dubai and South Africa. While many Zimbabweans struggled to afford bread, he posted photos online of champagne, designer watches, and piles of cash. At one point, he even filmed himself burning money while laughing. People were furious. But here is the strange part. After his father was removed from power in 2017, the family lost political control. Yet, they did not lose influence. They still owned land. They still had connections, and especially in one place, Mazowe. And Mazowe sat on top of something more valuable than politics: gold. Zimbabwe's economy had collapsed many times over the years. Currency changed, prices skyrocketed, and jobs disappeared. But gold never lost value. So thousands of desperate people became artisanal miners, known locally as Makarakoza. They were not big mining companies, they were villagers, fathers, teenagers, entire families digging with shovels. They dug under farms, fields, and abandoned land, including farmland linked to the Mugabe family. And that created a problem because whoever controlled the land controlled the gold, and whoever controlled the gold controlled money. And money meant power. Witnesses later described it the same way. Chatunga allegedly walked toward the mining pits and ordered the miners to stop digging immediately. Some miners climbed out of the shaft, confused. Others refused. That's when shouting began. Then pushing. Then gunshots. Panic spread instantly. Men ran in every direction across the open fields. Some dove back into the tunnels underground. Others dropped tools and fled barefoot. Several miners were beaten. At least one was seriously injured. And suddenly, the situation was no longer a land dispute. It was violence. But what happened next shocked the country. Police actually arrived to the scene, and instead of arresting the miners, they detained the president's son. For a moment, Zimbabwe froze because this almost never happened. Police questioned multiple miners. Their statements were all similar. Armed men had previously threatened them to leave the gold mining pits. They said certain areas were now off limits. Some miners admitted they were terrified to report it earlier because they believed nobody would go against the Mugabe name. In the end, the confrontation did not lead to the kind of courtroom spectacle many expected. There were investigations, statements, media coverage, and then silence. No dramatic televised trial, no long prison sentence. Instead, the case faded into the background. But the story of Bellarmine Chatunga Mugabe did not end at that gold mine in Mazowe because Mazowe was not his first time facing police, and it will not be his last. In the years after the mine confrontation, Chatunga's name kept appearing in the headlines, not for politics, not for business, but for trouble. There had been earlier accusations, altercations, and public incidents long before the mine. Reports of confrontations, aggressive behavior, and clashes with people around him followed Chatunga almost everywhere he went. And then, recently, it happened again. This time, not in Zimbabwe, but in South Africa. Authorities there detained Chatunga after another legal situation involving property and confrontation allegations. Details are still unfolding, but what shocked many observers was not the arrest itself, it was the pattern. The same themes appeared again: argument, entitlement, escalation. For people who remember the Mazowe mine, the news felt familiar, almost predictable. But what the gold mine incident revealed years earlier was bigger than a single violent morning. It showed a young man raised inside power, struggling to live in a world where power no longer protects him the same way. And that may be the real mystery of this story. Not just what happened in a field in Mazowe, but what happens to the children of rulers after the throne is gone. Some disappear quietly, some rebuild normal lives, and for some, they keep living like nothing ever changed. If you want the full details of what happened in South Africa, watch the two previous episodes on this channel where I break down his recent arrest step by step and what investigators believe really took place. Because the mine in Mazowe might have been a warning, the arrest in South Africa may be the consequence. And this story still is not over. If you want to hear more true crime stories where power, money, and human lives collide, make sure you follow the channel because some mysteries are not buried in history. They're still happening right now. Thank you for watching African Crimes and Mysteries with Kadiatu.